Okay friends, it's time to get started on our job. One of the first things you want to do is carefully come over to your radiator cap and make sure that it's nice and cool to the touch. After that, turn it counterclockwise, lift it up, inspect it, set it aside. Now from underneath the driver's side front of the vehicle, let's come right over to the lower aspect of the radiator. We're going to go ahead and turn this little petcock right here, and the fluid's going to come draining out. Make sure you have a nice collection bucket, hand and eye protection at all times. Let's let this fully drain. Once it's drained, we can come right over here. We'll start disconnecting the electrical connector. You want to inspect it, make sure you don't see any funny colors. If you do, it's corrosion and it needs to be dealt with. That looks fine, so we'll set it aside. Now we're going to move along to removing the upper radiator hose from the thermostat housing. Inspect your coolant hose, make sure it's soft, pliable, and not torn or worn in any way. Set it aside. Now let's remove this hose clamp right here so we can start sliding the hose up off of the thermostat housing as well. Next, let's start removing our 3 mounting bolts for this. You're going to find an 8mm here, right there, and then another one right here. Now we'll come right down here to this lower hose. I'm going to squeeze on this clamp. We'll try to slide it down a little bit. Break this free. Grab onto the unit. We're going to carefully start lifting this up and out of this hose right here. We just want to be very careful not to damage this wire at all as it starts coming up. There it is, friends. Now let's go ahead and use a flat blade razor. We'll just go ahead and scrape this down, make sure it's nice and clean so it'll seat in there perfectly and seal as it should. All right, now that we have this cleaned up, let's continue on by installing our brand new thermostat housing. Have a look at this area here. There should be an O-ring. You want to go ahead and coat that with some kind of light grease or even a tiny bit of oil. Once you have that on there, let's carefully start sliding this underneath this wire so we can get it in position. Now at this point, we're going to look at this area right here where this lower hose is. I'm just going to carefully start sliding this down into that hose, push it down as far as I can, and now I can grab that clamp and we'll slide it up into position as well. There we are. Now once you have this on here, you're going to want to make sure that you have your spring clamp in the exact same position as when you originally removed it. Now let's go ahead and grab onto our 3 mounting bolts. We're going to get this lined up. We'll start in all 3 of our mounting bolts and then we'll snug them up and torque them to manufacturer's specification. Once you have them all started in there, let's go ahead and torque these to 97 inch-pounds. Now we can get this hose on there. Just going to slide it right on here. We'll give this a little twist, get this lined up as well. Slide that right on. We want to try to get this as close to bottomed out as possible. Now we can go ahead and get this clamp on here as well. Get that lined up perfectly. Release it. And now let's just double check to make sure the hose is completely on there. This feels really great. Let's get this upper radiator hose on here as well. Press it on as far as it can. I can see exactly where it needs to line up. I'll try to get it lined up, and then we'll pop this free. Double check it, make sure it's secured. Now we can connect in our wiring. Make sure it's nice and secure. Now at this point, we're gonna go ahead and apply some vacuum to this. The reason why I wanna apply vacuum is for two reasons. First of all, I'll be able to check to see if I have a leak anywhere. Aside from that, by applying vacuum to this, it's gonna help be able to draw the fluid into this, and I don't necessarily have to worry about air in the system. Otherwise, if you wanted to and you only had something like this is a funnel buddy, and essentially it has some adapters in there. That's gonna make it so you can bleed out the air in the system as well and fill it. I'll set this aside and let's get this started. We're going to watch this gauge right here, and we want it to come all the way up and into the green. Now at this point, I've had vacuum on this for a short while, and I can see that the needle pretty much stopped. It's in the green zone, and it's past the 25 PSI. So what I want to do is just go ahead and turn this off so I can hold pressure. And now we're just going to make sure that this doesn't fall. That's going to help ensure that, like I said before, we don't have a leak. If this needle happens to drop all the way into the yellow, or even worse into the red, I know I have a leak somewhere. Let's let this sit for a minute, and then we'll continue by adding. Okay, so it's been holding pressure, so let's go ahead and add the manufacturer's specified fluid. You want to make sure that it's pre-mixed 50-50 diluted. Okay friends, we got the car all back together. What's left to do now? Now you're just going to want to go ahead and start it up. You need to let it run for a little while. Essentially, we want to wait until we can feel some heat coming out of those vents, and we also want to wait until we can hear that cooling fan turn on. After that, you should know that you have all the air burped out of the cooling system, and at that point you can go ahead and take this right off the top. We're going to go ahead and make sure that you fill up that overflow tank. You want to have it at least up to the maximum line on that, and then after you're all done all that, you're going to go ahead and put on your radiator cap. Take it for a road test. Thanks for watching.